Well. Interesting time for me to delve in to the latest Bazaar patch. Now, I've waited a bit for this. Initially, it was also because I just wasn't able to make a video, and also because I wanted to see what the changes were in-game before I actually decided to, give a little bit of an opinion on it, right? Give a little stance on some of it, and I haven't looked at it too much in game yet, but I do have the game open right now as I'm reading the patch notes, or rereading them, I suppose, as I did. Well, watch the original Raynad video, and I'll go over some of the and I've been in the Discord, looked at the Reddit, I've seen all the comments, I've seen the stuff that people are angry about, the stuff that people are happy about, whatever, so on and so forth. So let's just go through it all first. I'll skip the talking points part. I'll look at the balance first because I think it's shorter. So we'll go through it quick. Right? General updates, just so we figure out, I'll give my opinion on these here. I want to separate the balance of the game from the, economic state of the game. Let's put it that way. And I mean real money, of course. So, most items have had their cooldowns increased by 1 second. A global bonk, as I think Reinhard called it, essentially speaking. I think this is fair to prevent, because it's proportionally speaking, it's much more of a nerf on fast items than it is slow items. We were in a bit of a burst meta, especially Vanessa weapon builds, and even Fixer Upper, which is like a burst of a different kind. So I think it lets the slower items have a bit more time in the sun, and also I think it's probably a good idea for runs to be taking a little while longer, or like battles to be taking a little while longer to like have the defining moment happen. Because in games in the past meta for the past 2 weeks, we were essentially like, you wait a second and a half and then you're like, okay, I know whether I've won or lost immediately, right? Everything goes off for either player, and I think that's good. That's probably a good change. Here we go. Vanessa and Paige start with 8 gold and 5 income. Dooley starts with a choice of core, 4 gold and 5 income, and now the options are universal either way. Essentially saying a Dooley core is worth 4 gold. I don't think that's pretty true to bronze medium that you get for free. But it doesn't sell for the gold that you get for it. So this is actually a downside for some cases. Most of the cases, the core of the Dooley, is going to be beneficial to your build a lot of the time, and especially because it kind of pigeonholes you into a type of build early on. So it gets you there. Options, plus 12 gold, 3 income. The safe choice, 3 gold tier skills. Probably, in my opinion, the worst choice because of how many skills there are. You really just want one of the 3 skills to be something beneficial, but then you don't have any money at the beginning to buy things that might help them. So for example, you want a weapon skill, you want a poison skill, you want a burn skill. Probably the 3 best at the beginning that you would like. But the thing is also, downside of having it being gold tiers, that there are a lot of gold tier skills that don't have any relevance in like the first 5 days because you don't have a build that has like a synergy around it. And so you might go like 0 and 4, 0 and 5, trying to get a build that later on benefits from one gold tier skill with like a specific gimmick. But I think this is like this is a gambling, but it's not as good of an set of options. 3 enchanted smalls and plus 4 gold. This is peak gambling. And especially if you're doing an unranked concede maxing sort of strategy to try and get broken items for early guaranteed wins, you might want to opt for that. But if you're going for consistency in your games, you're gonna want to pick the golden income every single day because it's just guaranteed. And then you get into the main gameplay. Enchantments are fixed up more. Visual updates you can read all of this. It's essentially just visual improvements, which is good. Here we go. Form. That's something that we very rarely saw, is the weapon improvement one, which you can only really get through a portal right now. And now you get a random enchantment instead of obsidian or shiny from the option, and it's cheaper. B1 and B2 is now just a bronze upgrade, which is days 1 to 5, which kind of sucks. I think it should continue to spawn later on as well. Because if you get stuck with a bronze item and the game just fucks you every single time you go for an upgrade, you get screwed like day 11. You're like, okay, well, I guess my build's dead then. Because you don't want, especially if it's like the core of your build is bronze, you screw yourself luck-wise. And B1 and B2 was a big part in changing that. I'm not a fan of this, but I think that what they should have probably done is change the cost of the upgrade, or made it like 3 leftmost so that it was a fixed amount. I understand the problem with it because if you pay 8 gold for essentially what is like sometimes up from anywhere from like, you know, 8 to like 20 golds worth of items that you would have needed to purchase to upgrade all your items. I think that's obviously like they were trying to prevent it from being like an insanely budget option. But yeah, I think I don't like this one as much. It's not, but the fact that it's removed means that you actually need to prioritize upgrading bronze items again, like which is probably how the game is intended to be played. Anyway, double barrel damage nerf probably fair even with the cooldown nerf, which is going to be more impactful proportionally speaking. Port shiny gives multicast. Whatever, not going to be relevant for most cases. You very almost never get to choose a shiny enchantment, but I guess it's nice. Ice Pick cooldown reduced. This is pretty big. Ice Pick was pretty bad for an 8-second cooldown item. Basically, there's no reason to run it except for an ice like tag or a weapon tag. But now it might be worth it in some cases. Shipwreck, that's a gold tier. I saw this. This is pretty big. Studying gold tier means a lot more builds are possible for a multicast build. The crit chance is a nice bonus, but you're really just going to use it for the multicast. You don't even really ever need to upgrade it. 10% crit chance bonus on all your aquatics is almost not worth the gold for a large item, right? You'd rather save it for like a skill at that point. But it's going to be a lot more relevant. Obviously, it being a large item, it reduces your options, but multicast is broken in some cases, especially if you get enchants on aquatics, which is interesting to me. Silencer now just buffs the damage buff if it's obsidian. Yeah, that's neither here nor there. Probably good. I would need to see the specific numbers of it, but I mean, not making it a weapon is probably a good thing because it also means you can run it on crow's nest builds. Big pig updates. Atlatl damage reduced since you're going to be scaling the damage without the upgraded directly. It's pretty much irrelevant. It just means that a diamond Atlatl doesn't start higher, but like whatever. Beast of Burden's back. It's got a damage tweaking. It starts as silver now, which is probably a good thing so that you don't get destroyed in like the first couple of days. And now it has the types of items you have rather than just gaining items whenever you buy it, which is a more balanced way to do it. It caps the amount and also means that if you want to have some stronger, medium, or large items, you have to limit yourself in how strong your Beast of Burden is. I think it's probably balanced. You can. The problem is with damage scaling, a multicasted weapon is always going to have the risk of being really strong. But I think that I would like to see whether this one's broken or not. Starting at silver obviously is also interesting. It means you can scale it like later. It's less time to build up damage, but that's it's only one point of consideration. Tweak on bushel healing. That's kind of better earlier, worse later. That's fine. Giant Ice Club now doesn't scale the charge but scales the damage, but essentially just making it worse. Because 6-second charge was why you wanted it. This is effectively it's a nerf in damage, right? Ledger is formerly Deed, now called Ledger. It's now economic scaling on your items for selling stuff, which is good for gumballs and chocolate pogs up at the sight of this sort of sell 10 items effect. It's obviously it's intended for the fixer uppers, the pig's gym style properties mostly. So I think it's probably a good thing to keep around, especially considering if you're playing pig, you're going to be economic maxing all the time. So having another item that just makes it like it's a plug and play, it's like an almost guaranteed get. If you're running a build like this, the only problem is going to be managing how you can fit your inventory, because 5 chocolate bars is not going to fit. Which I think they should make it optional to get 1 by 1, but then again, it's part of guaranteeing that you can get 5 is the inventory management is what I meant to say. Yeah. New effects for the rays. I do need to check this. I don't have a confirmation of what the rays are. Ray. I don't know what the new effect is. It doesn't seem to show. Anyway, I literally have no idea what the new effect is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is on that one. Hold on, I've accidentally closed everything. No, it's all good. Very few balance changes for Dooley. Bunker is now a shield multicaster. Big nerf to the potential damage reduction that it could do, which is a shame because I liked the previous effect more. It felt like a nice sort of. It was pretty unique. And this is almost irrelevant, but it's actually pretty good, especially later on with big chunks, right? Shield multicast, useful for shielding builds. It's gonna be hard to justify a large bunker, but I can see it being very busted. But the problem is, of course, you need a heal to counteract poison if you're running a shield only build. Interesting. They did, because a lot of dueling items didn't get hit with the bonk because they already got bonked previously. But Isocoric Freezer they prevented it from going permanently infinite without haste, but it also has expanded the range of it from being 4 second to 5 second, which is a buff in most cases. So you could start freezing, a 4.5 second Cutlass for Vanessa, for example, in a weapon only build with that, like a silencer and big CDR cooldown reduction. So this is a buff for haste. This is a buff in some specific cases, but it's enough if you just want to plug it in, and at diamond level it's not going to be as good. Scaling, Robotics Factory, they're just putting the Friends multicaster in line with the other multicasters. It's kind of a symbolic change. Some changes here. Fang is now 3 second cooldown, which is makes it unique. Truffles is now a loot item that adds value to your leftmost item's value. Like you get what I mean. It doesn't seem that impactful. It seems like it's like it's an early pig buff for some free scaling. It's probably worse than most options. What you can do with truffles is store value in it in anticipation of getting an item that will eventually receive the value. So if you have value scaling, before you have the thing that you want the value to be on, you keep the truffles. And that's good. I think that it's got utility in that sense. I think a pig appreciates the options, especially. Some skills changer, Hone Arsenal. This is still ass, but I appreciate it. Like doubling it, like it was you went from getting maybe 8 to maybe 16% crit chance. At base level, 16% crit chance on all weapons, favorite weapons is okay. You can probably get better silver skills, but it means it might be an option. Anyway. Some new monsters with the Counter-Strike skill. CS mentioned, charge multiple of your items 1 second is better than charging one item multiple seconds, I would presume, especially considering all items that have more cooldown now. So Scoville, a lot of new options here these aren't new necessarily, right? I think we've seen some of these, but it's a food-based monster. I mean, I don't think, if I'm gonna look at some of these items, I don't think any of them are like too busted. This one is very strong. It seems to be very strong to me. A multicasted charger. We've seen them before, right? But obviously we're waiting on the Jules food builds. We don't have the character yet, so it's not really that bad. Most of these are not going to be that beneficial, apart from the black pepper, which is going to be foodable, and the curry, which could have a place, considering the charge is going to be more valuable now, as well as haste. Ghost Pepper's now got Heat Lover, a new monster, and a new skill mentioned. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the monetization changes to the Bazaar. Or maybe not changes, maybe this was just, we were walking the path before we even knew it. I haven't given any... Shit, anyway, I was looking at something else. So, prize pass. Now, also mentioned by some countries, I'm pretty sure it means Belgium here. Similar restrictions exist for Counter-Strike cases, which I believe Valve found a workaround, or they didn't. I'm not up to date on that. I don't live in Belgium. But because of the in-game loot chests of skins not being openly probabilistic, like the numbers aren't available yet, and it's not there's no guaranteed like pathway for those. They haven't fixed it. I assume they'll fix it at some point. It's not really what we're talking about here. So, career page, that's cool. Prize pass and subscriptions. What are we talking about here? So now, instead of the previous system where you got access to the game via a paid founders pack, that was, I'll say this early on, you and me, because I paid for the founders pack, right? You paid for closed beta access. That was the point of it. You weren't, now I'm not talking about backers for, who backed it on previous, Indiegogo / Kickstarter / I don't remember exactly where it was. Those platforms, they may have been given promises and other stuff, but I do believe they have like the right to be disappointed, and maybe even like, I don't know if, I actually don't know the legal status of whether if something is promised in a fundraiser like that, I think they have to deliver on some of it, but some of it's like, wording stuff, not actually a physical deliverable or like a digital deliverable. It's like a concept. So that's rough. But anyway, so you got beta access, that's fine. And now there is a subscription-based way to play the Bazaar. So the prize pass, earn XP, is basically a battle pass. Earn XP towards challenges and play in both normal and ranked play. Ranked tickets available on all 3 levels. Free daily ranked game and ranked ticket for 10 wins has been removed. Now, there's been a lot of discourse on the Discord and online and so on and so forth. Essentially speaking, I'm pretty sure you get 45 tickets in the month-long season. So if you were getting multiple ranked wins a day, then this will affect you negatively. If you weren't, this will affect you positively, because now 4 and 7 win runs will still benefit your progress in the pass. That part is good. I'm not a fan of them removing the ability to get these tickets, especially considering the pass is fixed and there is no endless reward if you go past it, which seems stupid to me, right? It seems pretty easy to get to the end of the pass. Now, I don't know this, and it's also like they've changed the way it works. Previously, your free ranked run every day was something I did indeed rely on. That was pretty much all of my ranked runs were free because I was saving my tickets for when it was all better so I could stomp on noobs. That was my point, right? I've said this in videos before. But now the free ranked is gone. And I think that's probably a bad thing, even if you have ranked tickets, because if you don't have progress in the Bazaar pass or whatever, the prize pass here, you should be able to play a game of ranked. Okay, so I paused the recording and then I went downstairs, did some random stuff in the house. So I don't remember exactly where I left off. This is the awkward part of me coming back here. But I know I got to here, I got to the free reward being disabled, and I think it's bad. Categorically, it's bad because it feels bad. And part of how you deliver this kind of thing is the psychology behind it, right? It's that even if you're going to make something paid money to sort of release, that you don't fully make it feel like you're being ripped off, that your soul is being sucked out of you, and that the people who pay money are being so dominant in the game, right? Even if that's true, you don't want it to feel that way. You want to feel like you're constantly doing something. And this sort of takes that away, but also ranked, unranked. You're only playing ranked for cosmetics, but also you're playing it for the rank, because you want to prove you're good at the game. But then let's get into that, because we have the next 2 sections here that we're talking about the prize pass, right? And also a secondary thing which we'll get into after the fact, right? Mysteries of the Deep and Frozen Assets. Vanessa and Pygmalion Hero Expansion. These are the sets of, I believe, 20 cards. I'm not sure if it's 20 each or 20 per, like each as in both of these expansions have 20, or if it's 20 cards collectively between the 2 of them. But I think that this is also, and now we have to get into information that's been sort of publicized through the Discord and through online social media channels after the fact, is that these are, locked or gated behind the purchase of the prize pass for 1 month, and then they become purchasable for gems after that month. Now, this basically means that for the month that the cards are out, that you will not be able to select, you will not be able to see them in your shop. You might be able to pick them up if a NPC enemy has them and you roll into it, and you will see them in your opponents even if you do not have it. You are allowed to select and deselect them for yourself. If you think that the expansion makes your chances worse and dilutes your pool, you can do that. That's the extent of the control, right? Now, categorically, I think that if you have content gated for a month behind literal monetary transaction without any way for a player to grind and unlock it for that season, that creates FOMO, that creates, a pressure to buy it if you're playing around, so you don't miss out on the ability of maybe a broken card that's only available in that section. And also there's it's half conspiracy theory, half real, having played games like Brawl Stars, having played other games like, Hearthstone even, which is not the same, we'll get into that later, where games have often powerful content locked behind monetary investment, right? That if, for example, a really good card, and this is true, there are quite good cards in Frozen Assets and Mysteries of the Deep, here and there, some of them are quite good, not all of them, but some of them, right? I have seen a few. They will not be available to you. And it's a different thing. I see people talking about the argument that it's because in the probabilistic sort of sense, that you lose to runs that you don't have all the time and that you may have never had. You get a multicast, double barrel that goes 3 times instead of 2. You start thinking to yourself, oh my god, I've lost to this run. But there's nothing preventing you from having that. You know that the other person got lucky, and then you can give them praise for that. You can say, you know what, fair enough. If you lose to somebody who paid money for an expansion that gives them the chance to get a card that you literally cannot get, that is an experience that will cause people to quit the game. And I say this knowing that people will quit the game, but here's the thing. That also needs to be balanced with the actual monetization of the game. Now, we don't know and I'll finish this before I talk about broader picture stuff, before I talk about, stuff that we don't necessarily have full information for, right? There's a subscription separate from the price pass, which is interesting that they separated these things, which I think makes no sense. It makes no sense to separate a paid subscription from a paid price pass. Realistically, it's just it's a double dip. I think if you're going to make any sort of paid investment, regular investment, into your game, you should just make it one thing. Making it multiple things is it's just not a good image. Even if you made it one thing, but you increased the cost, but you said that it was more value, I think that would be better than having multiple things and making people choose. What's the point of buying the subscription without buying the prize pass? It's 2 layers of the prize pass, essentially, is what it is, because it gives you, this is the cosmetics and chests, and this is the literal content, and I think it is pointless to separate them if you're going to make a paid subscription, just from the psychological perspective that people will have if they see it. 2 things to pay for. This game is going woke. It's going pay to win. For those people say this for the first time. That's a joke. I'm not making fun of things going woke. I am on the side of woke. I don't know. The word has lost its meaning because it's been memeified. But le woke. Anyway, it's just fun to use it as a meme anyway. What the point that I'm trying to get to is, now that I can de-highlight this, and I guess nothing to specifically highlight. I guess I may as well open the game while I talk about this, because I haven't fully seen what the game, implies with these changes. So let's full screen. This is my account. We got Vanessa, we got Pig, we got Dooley. I'm a grand founder, of course, and now we got all of this stuff. You can see that I'm bronze 5. And there's stats now. Wow, there's stats now. Really? Is these out? There's no chance I have this many hours played. There's no shot I have 8 hours played in Dooley, except of really 8 hours logged in 27 hours logged. Vanessa, 83 hours. I guess each game does take a while. 10 win percentage. My Dooley 10 win percentage is the highest because I've played so few of Dooley. And I only played Pig when he was strong, so that makes sense, right? Games played, obviously. This is also like a little preview into the stats page. This is the career page, right? We're going to go through everything. Time played, of course. Players defeated. That's like a 1-to-1. Ranked games played. I've only played 5 Pig ranked games in the recent meta. You're not getting me to play ranked Dooley. Never happens. I mean, this monster defeat is another useless stat. Like, these are all proportional to the number of games that you've played with the character. So I don't see what the use of it is. But honestly, my pig gold spend might be catching up, although it's not really relevant. Prestige lost only 13 with dually because I only have good dually runs. That's how you know I'm a real baller. I'm a real damage dealer. I'm a real ghost. What the hell is ghost battles? I don't have 0. Does that mean people who have fought against me? That'd be interesting. Okay, this is just wrong. I've had legendary. Unless you mean like the actual cosmetics, in which case that's true. Okay, match history coming soon. Atlas coming soon. Now I do realize it is kind of stupid to have this in here, but it is still an open beta. Which, by the way, I would say this because this is my opinion. Releasing monetization as part of your open beta is, without a doubt, a terrible public relations move, despite the fact that it's necessary to test whether your idea of monetizing the game long term is successful. Because people psychologically associate the idea of a beta with something that's free to play, and it's free because it's incomplete. You are playing it knowing that the experience is not smooth and polished as it would be for a full release game, because you are playing it to sort of report bugs, to get a feel of it. That's the idea, right? It may not be true. I would say the Bazaar is probably very close to a full release in terms of polish and gameplay. Now, the servers have their own issues. There's bugs here and there, which have been improved since I've been playing the game. But if you're going to release monetization in an open beta, it just means that people are going to feel a jarring sense of, disillusionment, because it's an open beta. I'm playing this knowing it's an incomplete game, and you're making me, subject to your monetization strategies. It feels bad, despite the fact that it is probably a good idea to collect the data early when you know, so that you know what's going on next, right? Anyway, achievements, Atlas match history, and leaderboard all coming soon, but subscription is obviously available because they need to take money. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, because you do need money to run the game. You are paying people to develop the game, right, at the end of the day. So they need money. Now, should the Bazaar be having a full, artistry of every single card, having fantastic synergy of animations alongside static art, alongside everything else, which obviously cost money if they were paying artists fairly for their work? You can form your own opinions, but this is USD, by the way. It's not AUD, which is another problem, because if I click this button, no doubt it's going to do a mean conversion to the dollar that I, have to pay with from my region, which is its own problem. But anyway, right? So you've got that section of the game. Now, equip collectibles, that's where we were before. Expansions. Hero expansions. This, in theory, is where is the pass? How do I don't see the pass, which is very strange to me. Hold on a second. Okay, I just had to click the back button. The UI is not flawless. Okay, here's the pass, right? Upgrade to premium and unlock ongoing chest only tiers. Okay, so this is also sight unseen. I don't know about this. Collect all. So you go to the opening screen, you go to the collection, and you got challenges, which is how you get XP to get the pass. That's pretty standard. We've seen this in a lot of games, right? This is just to give you an idea of what the game is sort of providing you with. Apply haste 50 times, 6 gold skills, 3,000 damage, enchant items, buy large items, and buy medium items. Very easy things to do if you play the game regularly. It will not take you any time at all to complete these, right? But obviously the prize pass is where the big money is at, right? So you have a bunch of, premium pass exclusive rewards. Obviously, the free side has got all these rank tickets. The premium side, this is what I also think is sort of nonsense. They suggest that you can buy it with gems and then make paying for the pass give you more gems. Thereby, there's a bit of double dipping going on here for those who pay. And by the way, it's not even a monetary thing. It's a principle thing, because there's no I have no inability to pay for this pass. Let's just get it straight right there, right? It's an expensive pass. It's a matter of whether I think that money is worth it for the amount of time I'm going to invest in this game. Now, if we look at the rewards here, this is a Mystery of the Deep expansion. Let's view the expansion. Okay, so it is 10 cards each, 20 cards total. So that we've got that clarified here, right? How many of these cards are good? How many of these cards aren't good? Let me give you my eyes, fresh judgment. 8-second cooldown, 24 damage sub, but reduced cooldown. This item is ass. Adjacent items are aquatic. Could be interesting. Useless in most cases. Haste 1 item for 1 second. Multi-cost equal to its ammo. Okay, so it doesn't use ammo, but it can get very strong multi-cost. This is honestly, a fairly strong item because you can reduce it to 3.5. And if you get gunpowder, you can make it haste your entire board for 3.5 seconds. For 2 seconds if you get just one set of boots. And it's 1 width, so it's actually quite strong. This is quite strong. It starts at silver as well, obviously. Starts Slumbering Primordial. 30-second, deals 75 damage. When you do Poison Freeze or Burn Charge and it gains 75 damage for the fight. 30-second cooldown, but I get the point. You're trying to build towards a one-shot after the fact. It's a friend in aquatic as well, by the way. I think it's probably bad because no fight is going to last. I know you're going to charge, if you do a Weatherglass build, you can do both of these at the same time and potentially charge quite a while. I just think it's quite slow, but we are in a slower meta theoretically. I don't think it's that good. The Mantis Shrimp, 20 damage burn to 2 ammo when you slow. Sorry, I'm reading it out for you now. Let me put my camera bottom left because that seems to be a safer place. Here you go. When you slow this, gains 10 damage and 1 burn for the fight. It's a reloadable. 9 seconds is a bit long. This seems pretty bad. I don't think I could see this working. But then again, it's a new meta, so I don't have a full information ability. When you slow, charges 1 second, burn 6 darkwater anglerfish. It's an aquatic slow synergy, but burn and slow, which I think it's got its place. It seems like a medium version, but a worse version of Lighthouse, right? Which shows up later, of course. I think that this is probably worse. I don't see it being very impactful. Primordial Depth Charge. Poison 4, Burn 4, and Freeze 1 medium or small. Item for 1 second. Multicast equal to the other aquatics that you've got. And obviously you can reload it and you can put more ammo onto it. This also seems pretty bad because 10-second cooldown is pretty rough, but I could be wrong. Volcanic Vents. Burn 1, multicast 3. Starting at bronze, this is quite a strong item because if you get a burn multicast early, this can be quite impactful. It falls off very later. But I think I can see this as a substitute for the Weatherglass and to set up a Weatherglass build. Zoarkid. 20 damage, haste adjacents for 1 second. When you burn, charge it 1 second. I see what they're going for here. Now 1 second of haste is not very good, but it is a 1 width. So I can see it. It's a weapon aquatic friend, which is a lot of synergies that you can potentially activate. I think it's probably good as a filler for a build that's not quite ready yet, but I don't think it's meta defining or broken. The Yeti Crab, small item freeze for 1 second. When you freeze, adjacent poison items gain +1 poison for the fight. This seems pretty bad. I can say this outright. I think this seems pretty bad. I mean, Vanessa has very few sources of major freeze, so I don't think this is a huge problem. And freeze has been nerfed since it was really powerful recently. Or I guess back in the day from a time scale perspective, right? I don't think it's that good. View expansion. What is skip 1 tier? Okay, premium exclusive, obviously. And now this is a seasonal chest. And you can obviously pay gems to skip tiers. And they've got the whole squad dually, and I'm just clicking these to show you previews. And then at the very end, they've got a little peak expansion called Frozen Assets. Now we'll look at these as well, right? Because I think some of these items are pretty strong. When it freezes, gains 3 burns. Steam Ladle 4-second burn 3. Pig doesn't have easy access to early burn, but does have a few freeze items, so I think this could be interesting, right? You got a matchbox potentially as well. Luxury QS. Burn to these items' value. This could be interesting considering how many different ways there are to scale a value of an item, right? Now, you're not going to get a value of an item up too high, and it is an 8-second cooldown, which prevents it from being too meta defining. Because even if you get it to, like, 150 burn, 8 seconds for 150 burn is not that much, right? 1 item for 1 second. When your enemy uses an item, charges 1 second when you freeze, gains for regen. Now, presumably this goes up in seconds and not up in number of items. Because I think that would be... Oh, wait, I forgot about that fact. Okay, now I actually have to go back because I literally didn't consider what the potential upgrades for these items could be. Now I have to check this because I think that defines what makes an item strong or not. Right? So let's go one by one here. The submersible... It's just up in damage, no opinion changed. Dive me helmet, I presume, is just up in shield, no opinion changed, but the dive weights could be different. Yeah, it changes the number of seconds. As soon as you upgrade this to silver and you add ammo to it, it becomes an incredibly strong white haster for just a small slot. This is a strong item. Okay, the primordial getting scaled. And I guess there's 2 primordial items, and it's got enchantments, obviously, but it changes to charge 2 seconds and the damage scale. Okay, at diamond, this item could potentially be busted. But the thing is, it can easily be slowed and frozen, which means it's got a limited ability to be useful in the control sort of meta. Now, we're not necessarily in a control meta, but there's a lot of freeze items being added to Pig as well. And Dooley's got no, it's got quite a few potential items that... Well, it's not got that many slows and freezes, but it's got 1 freeze which is going to play here, which means it's sort of the moot point. But I can see if you find this at diamond and you have a build that works for it, you can slot it in. But I wouldn't build around it. It seems too illogical. Okay, mantis shrimp. I assume just scales the damage and burn. Yeah, it just scales the amount that it gains. Which I think is still pretty rough to have to reload the mantis shrimp because there's no shot you're going to win around with it. And also 9 seconds is too long. But anyway. What's this guy called? The dark water. It just changed the amount of burn. That's chill. It's not impactful. The primordial depth charge. It reduces cooldown. It still seems like it's terrible. I can't lie to you. Because at most, right, you have 8 slots, you have 8 multicast. It's an 8-second long, 8 multicast, 1-time use, and 7 multicast and reloadable potentially on a lot of burn and poison. It just seems... The multicast is valuable for the freeze only, but it's 1 second, right? Like, I don't think it's very good. Now, this guy, I presume, only upgrades the burn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's not really impactful. Even if it's 4x multicast or 3x multicast, whatever. The Zoarkid, it adds more haste and more damage. It could be useful, but you're not going to really see it as diamond. Even if only if it's needed for the friend synergy, which I could see it being the case. And that's what I needed to check, the Yeti Crab. It increases the count of small items frozen, not the length of the freeze, which means it's probably pretty bad. And the freeze poison synergy, I mean, every 7 seconds, it's going to be hard to justify it. Because I'm picturing like a pufferfish sort of build. It's aquatic, but I don't believe in it. I didn't mean to click the unlock button. Okay, now that we have that in mind, I'm going to be ready to give you the more honest opinion. I assume this adds this to scaling. I guess I should check, just so I can give you a fully authentic Steam Ladle. That's my Discord mute and unmute sound, which you didn't hear because my mute is on the desktop audio. Okay, it goes 3, 6, 9, 12 for free scaling. It's interesting to consider. It's also only a small slot, so if you've got a freeze build, worth considering. And this is called frozen assets for a reason, right? And especially if you've got cold room. Now, the thing is, if you freeze multiple items for less time, it doesn't matter because the multiple items actually means it counts for separate instances of freeze, so Steam Ladle can scale. Worthy considerations. The Cold Room. Yes, it is a multi-item scaler, which means it is a synergy with Steam Ladle. Very valuable. Okay. There's a build potentially brewing here. Now, 1 second freeze is okay. 8 seconds long, 1 second freeze. You're not going to really win a fight based on that, but the burn could be something. But you need sustain as well, right? Burn 3, gain 3 regen. I presume it just scales linearly. It's okay. Early game, no item synergies whatsoever. Non-issue. VIP pass. Haste adjacent properties. When you use an adjacent property, increases value. This item's value by 1. Okay. Previously, we've had like reward card and such. Items that scale outside of battle, but you remove them when you're inside battle. This is the reverse, that you scale inside of battle only, but you have to sacrifice the slot. VIP pass, I presume it scales both the length of the haste and... Yes, no, it does not scale the value scaling. It's only 1. But a 3-second haste on adjacent properties for 7 seconds is okay. I find it hard to believe for a lot of properties that this makes sense. I think this makes sense for very few builds where the property length is very slow. Maybe I think a Fixer Upper build, this could work because of course Fixer Upper's cooldown is 4 seconds now, but I think it's still potentially viable. But I don't see it being defining of the matter. Okay, Snowmobile. Deal damage. This gains damage. When you gain haste of when you freeze, charge at 2 seconds. It's essentially, I mean, Pig's got a lot of thematic sort of long-term scaling options. This seems to be one of those. Snowmobile, Playmobil the movie, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, it's just more damage scaling. Pig damage is very limited in its sort of capacity. I don't think this will make any lick sense. Now, then again, freezing is a powerful tool, so you would put it in if you got nothing else, but I wouldn't bank on it. So now, burn 4. When you burn, heal 10 and gain 1 regen for the fight. A lot of burn items. This one doesn't seem very strong. Even if you gain multiple regen, it's not going to be really enough to take down a lot of like big damage opponents. So there's that. Okay. The 6-second charge? Vaz? Okay, pause. Burn 8, gain 8 regen. When you freeze, charge this 6 seconds. Yeah, you definitely didn't think this went through. This one it's gold and it looks pretty strong to me. To get instantly used whenever you freeze. And that one-time use that freezes all other items. Essentially speaking, by the way. Even in the worst case scenario, your opponent has 3 larges and a small, so that's 4 items. You have 2 larges and a small, so that's 3 more items. So 7 items times 4, 28, divided by 6, 4 plus, it's a 4-second charge, so it's going to go 5 times, right? You're going to get 40 burn and 40 regen for free, guaranteed if you literally have no other synergies with freeze whatsoever. And that's not going to be the case because you got Cold Room and now you got all these other freeze items with synergies. And freeze is one of the most boring things to play against. I have to stress that. When you play against someone with a freeze enchantment, there's a reason why so few items have the freeze ability innately, because it is frustrating. As a slow, it's non-interactive. Then again, the whole game is not interactive, but it just feels less entertaining, right? You're like, oh, I'm frozen. I guess I shouldn't have run this build. It doesn't feel like you're going up against the merits of their build when they're interacting with yours, even though I think it's probably a relatively fair design mechanic and I don't really tilt at it that much, but this could get me tilted because all other items is brazy. Anyway, this seems quite strong, especially if you have a freeze build, and now Pig freeze build is viable, essentially speaking, right? Aurora Dome. 5-second shield 10, but scales all your shield items upon freeze. Yeah, that seems interesting. Now here's the thing, it's not a heal, so you're still weak to poison, right? But obviously you can pair this with a shielded item. You got your jewelry, you got your fixer-upper in terms of options, right? And variety of other options in between. I don't think this one's going to be that strong because Shield Pig is already quite, it has a strong ability to shield. You don't really need that plus 10 scaling because Pig's got big shield. It's not got small shield that goes off so frequently. So I don't think this one will really matter. The ice luge. Sorry, what the freeze adjacent items for 1 second. When an adjacent item gains freeze, reduces cooldown by 1 second for the fight. Now here's the thing. You can't reload this as pig unless you get lucky draw from, item drops, right? Which is possible to do, but it's not guaranteed at all. And you can get gunpowder, which is also not guaranteed, but possible, right? This could be incredibly broken. Now the thing is, if it scales its own freeze to itself, it's kind of crazy. So I gotta check this one. Ice luge. It reduces its cooldown at diamond to 2 seconds for the fight. That's... Even a one-time 2-second cooldown reduction, considering every single item is gained 1 second on cooldown pretty much across the board, is potentially one of the most broken things, especially for small items. If you're surrounded by large properties or like anything else, you win every single sustained fight, even without ammo scaling or reloading. This item, it's a put in the backpack until you have a build that makes it work. So, where does this all leave us, right? So, you've seen the expansions, you've seen the fact that premium to be unlocked, past details, it's got a bunch of, it's got collectibles on and expansions available, all of those used for 999 gems, of which, by the way, I have 1760, so, we're going to get both expansions eventually. And it didn't take me a month to earn these, but I wasn't playing to grind ranked anyway, because I got 25 tickets burning a hole in my pocket for the 6 purpose, right? So, where does that leave us, right? Let me put this back down here, put myself back up here. This is where I will turn my chair around and sort of talk to the camera. Where does this leave us, right? It's a difficult situation, right? I've been playing a lot of the Bazaar. I would say I love the game, or at least I have loved the game so far. I accept that my purchase of the closed beta was a one-time purchase with really no expected return except the fact that you get to play the game and give feedback early on. And I would say I've enjoyed my time so far. What do I think about the new monetization of the game, first and foremost? There's two sides to this coin, as there always is. This game is sort of led by Reynad, streamer turned CEO of this development team, so on and so forth. And is, of course, you got artists on the payroll, you got developers on the payroll, you got to pay for the servers, you got to do all this, right? Money needs to be coming in because it's a live service game. That's sort of the basics of it all. So I do think for people who are saying they shouldn't really, it was free to play, why I think it's costing money, you obviously should have seen some sort of investment coming. Now, the developers seem to like what the messaging suggests to me, and obviously we've got past quotes from Reynad and the like saying, we're going to do cosmetics only, and then they maybe did, they either A or B. They did the math and realized cosmetics aren't going to pay the bills for the number of staff that we've got to make this game run smoothly and consistently throughout a year. So let's pivot to a different monetization model, which we don't have the data to confirm or deny, right? Or they realized, we said a lot of stuff, but we have a quite expansive player base now, that many of which will accept, especially considering the open beta newer players will not really be part of the culture of the closed beta. They'll just be playing the game like any other. Honestly speaking, it's not as bad as the majority of gambling, gacha style methods of monetizing games. So people will probably just pay subscriptions, and we may lose players, we may lose a bit of trust, but we will gain consistency, and in time, this negative feedback will fade, and we will, run with the system, and it will work for us, and we will be able to pay our bills. And that's one perspective. I think it's obviously a bit of column A, a bit of column B, right? Will I continue playing the Bazaar? I think time will tell. I haven't had any runs on the new patch. I think, instinctively speaking, I think going up against a player with a card in their build, which I do not have the ability to access for 1 month, is going to eventually frustrate me enough to quit the game. The question is whether they change anything about their strategy to monetize the game's deliverables until that point. In a month from now, presumably the messaging is suggested as such, and it may change depending on feedback. We're going to get Season 1, we're going to go outside of the open beta for this game, right? And so that's the next opportunity for the developers and for the, whatever monetization team, economist sort of individuals have got on the back end of that to make the choice to realize whether or not this is a good idea. Now, I'm not going to do what a lot of people are doing and appeal to sort of the better nature of the developers and of Reynad and whoever, like the streamer Reynad, right? The personality and of the reality of the situation. There is money that needs to be paid to developers and to the server infrastructure sort of system, and of course to future artists who need to draw the next cards, which they seem to be planning once a month, which seems crazy to me. But anyway, it seems like it's too much, and it's going to either flood the content or dilute the, expression of the game. We're going to get two similar options, or it's going to be way too much. Then again, what do I know, right? But at the same time, that I do understand that the developers need to be paid and that there needs to be a, fair system that people can pay money and experience something, and there needs to be an incentive for them to pay money. Otherwise, maybe they won't pay. Enough people won't pay, right? I think that the way they've gone about it is not effective in regards to the goodwill that presumably they didn't earn. A lot of, good publicity was happening in the past because Reina was talking about how, we come from Hearthstone, but we're not going to follow the same gambling sort of method of unlocking new ways to play the game. We don't like the fact that it's pay to win in Hearthstone, that, you can, if you want to craft a deck, you need to pay a lot of money to open packs. But then you lock content behind a gated paywall. Now, it's not the same thing. And I think people need to realize a lot of haters talking about, it's so pay to win. It is pay to play certain cards. If those cards are strong, in a probabilistic sense, it is pay to win, right? If a really strong card is in the expansion only, free-to-play players will be screwed for a month. Is that fair? Opinions vary. I think that free-to-play players in most games have a sense of entitlement gained from big companies like, Valve games, where free-to-play players are treated basically the same as anybody else because Valve has the, case opening / gambling infrastructure to fully fund all their games, and of course they own Steam, which is making them so much money that they can hardly look at the bank accounts, right? And so we know that it doesn't really matter to them and that they can just keep running these games. Not that they will run them at a loss necessarily. Of course, they're making massive gains on their games, apart from like Artifact, right? But they're in a different position to Tempo Storm, Reynad's company here. They don't have necessarily the resources that Valve does, obviously. They don't have the monetization ability that Riot does with their skin system and that their ability to purchase new heroes and whatever. But I do think it's sort of in bad taste that you make comments about the fact that you're going to monetize with cosmetics, then you turn your back on it. And so I think that along with that pivot in a different sort of monetization system, if that's the long-term goal, and by the way, Reynad's comments about how you're not going to listen to Reddit, you're not going to listen to Discord about monetization because the only fair feedback is people's wallets, I think it's true. And I hate to read it, even if it's true, because it means that people cannot say anything. But this is actually the deconstruction of the entire sort of economic system of these kinds of free-to-play games. It doesn't matter how many times people say, we don't like the system, it feels unfair, it feels bad. If you keep playing, and people pay enough to support the returns that people were expecting, that developers were expecting on the system, well, then there's no problem, is there? It's working as intended. And so that part I understand, right? And I understand, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're basically getting nothing. Maybe I should play a Bazaar run in the meantime. There you can see No more free tickets, baby. And so that's sort of where we end up. So for the period of about a month, we're going to have the open beta. By the way, welcome to the Bazaar if you haven't played the game before. It's unfortunate that you have to join during an up and down period, but odds are the people playing the Bazaar for the first time don't know the controversies, they don't know the ups and downs, they just know the game. And so they actually have an advantage in the fact that people who are playing for the first time may not realize that this is the system that is first being debuted for them, right? And so they're going to just see the monetization of the game, and they're going to say, okay, do we think it's value? Do we think it's not value? Okay, other games are worse, and so that it may be a justifiable decision. And it may end there, where the people who play the game for the first time now, and all the, closed beta supporters feel betrayed, the Patreon backers, Indiegogo and Kickstarter backers sort of feel like their money was not going towards the vision that they believed it was. Which, by the way, is something that you sort of... It's a shame, but when you back something on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, you sort of... Unless you are literally paying for like a tier which guarantees you a specific sort of product, you accept that the thing that comes out is not necessarily going to be the exact, dream promise that was sold to you on the page. You're paying for the potential of building something that literally has no money. You are backing something. You are the VC. And so if you lose your money on that one, and you don't get what you wanted, it hurts, but it's part of the system. It's what allows some things to get built and some things not to get built, basically speaking, right? And so, do I think it's good? I think it's fairer than a lot of other options. The only unfair part is gating content for a month, which basically it incentivizes developers of the game to make temporary content stronger so that people buy it. And it's going to be hard to resist that pull, right? And I know some of the cards aren't that good right now, right? And time will tell, which is why I'm sort of waiting and seeing here, right? We've got basically, I would say, a couple of months until the full picture is fully revealed, right? This first month is the first trial of this new monetization system. During that, you're going to get all the data that you want, right? You're going to get how many people played, how many people quit, how many new acquisitions into the Bazaar, how many of them are paying, how many of the older, players are paying, so on and so forth. And so people are probably going to construct that sort of image, right? The developers, I mean, are going to figure out, okay, did we do a good thing, did we do a bad thing? I don't know what the best method would be cosmetics, because that basically is irrelevant to gameplay. It means that people who can pay and want to support the game will pay. I also know that that's not realistically going to be enough to pay the bills in every case. It works in some games, but the number of games that it works in is very limited. If your examples that you're citing are Fortnite, in which it's got one of the highest player counts of all time, and the cosmetics are incredibly designed, and it's player versus player in real time in 3D with brand deals and everything. And that's your example. Or Counter-Strike, which is, of course, I'm a CS2 fella right here. CSGO even. But it's a gambling system, right? That's what keeps the machine rolling. And so you have to acquiesce. You have to say, okay, the game has to have some consistent way of getting people to pay money, because servers cost money. The game is free. If the game wasn't free from the beginning, maybe we'd have a different conversation, but the game is free, right? That was the setting point. That's the model they've gone with. And it's going to be too late to go back on calling the base game free, right? So, do you continue with this monetization system, and is it the only way forward? I think we're going to see changes. I think the first thing I would want to see, like if I'm suggesting options here, merge the price pass and the subscriptions, right? Reduce the price a little bit of them both, but then when you merge them, maybe you can keep the same price. You can crunch the numbers on what is possible to be fair, right? Make the newer packs purchasable for gems on release, so that people who are really good at rank, for example, can keep their system open. And so you want to sort of incentivize the bulk of people to pay for the pass and so on and so forth to guarantee progression. And some people cannot pay all the time and so on and so forth. Well, this is sort of the conclusion of everything here, right? It's been an hour-long video. I'm realizing this now. Will I be paying for the pass? Right, okay, and I guess I may as well. Let's see how much it ends up converting to on their end. If I click the Unlock Premium, I click Upgrade. I click here. How are they charging me? Can you buy it? How do I Tempo Home? What is game changes? It's podcast, it seems. Tempo Storm is retired. Yeah, we know. The Bazaar. What is this thing? A formal live show. Okay, but how do I? How is it going to charge me? What is it? How is it like? That's what I want to know. There's no shot of the account. Let me pause this for a second. Okay, so I can confirm. Basically, what it does when you click the button is that it opens a horribly slow in-game browser tab for you to enter your payment information, and then it charges you 1671 Australian dollars, 999 US, right? And so essentially, here's the tricky thing, right? You're talking about premium rewards, and you're talking about, you know, the two subscription services back to back. So I want to say that I guess this doesn't reveal anything, huh? Now that I think about it, I was gonna. Actually, I think I probably have to edit that part out. Now that I have to. Oh no. Oh well. Or did I pause it in time? If it's only on this screen and this screen, it could be fine. We'll figure it out. Anyway, if I've edited it, you've just missed a portion of the video that I edited out because I accidentally left it in. Anyway, conclusion. Will I be purchasing the pass? I'll see. I'll play the Bazaar like I've normally been playing for free for a little while. And by the way, it is completely bogus that they don't give a goodwill gesture to everybody who played the closed beta and give them the first pass for free. Nobody wants to pay essentially what they paid for the open beta, for the closed beta, for the passes for the open beta. We've been playing so far because we paid for the access of the game. And then you want us to pay more for features that you're looking behind money. It makes no sense. It doesn't feel very good at all. So you have to think about the feel of this. But then again, the numbers will pan out. So at the end of the day, I think it's not implemented in the best way possible. It's better than a lot of the alternatives. I don't know the realities of whether they could have implemented it in a better way, for example, purely cosmetics or not gating content, without necessarily losing money on internal costs. So the question really becomes, do you trust the developers of the Bazaar, and will they adjust things to be fair? Because I think there is a fair way to regularly monetize your game and make sure people who are paying for the service are rewarded, while still making sure people who play for free or who can only occasionally purchase your service are not punished outrageously or otherwise felt devalued as players of the game, and thus will never be potential payers of the game, right? And so my conclusion is basically, we'll see whether this is a negative or positive change. There's more to be said about everything going on. And it's not a great sign that they immediately do it. Then again, they were sort of hinting at this being an inevitability for a while. And I still recommend people who are playing, for the first time at the Bazaar, to try it out, see if you like the gameplay loop, evaluate it for yourself. Right? Because the problem with the feedback for people who have been playing the closed beta is that everybody who's 50% of the people who have played the closed beta, or I guess more like 60%, because some people never use that code, right? The free code that you get to give someone else, paid money to play the game. And so they're going to feel a sense of sunken cost and sort of, negative feedback, right? But then a lot of people who are playing for free right now are for the first time being presented with the option to monetize the game, and they're thinking, well, of course, Hearthstone's got card packs. This one seems pretty fair. It's a subscription only. Let's try it out. Which is true in some senses, but I feel like it's unfair in some others. But time will tell. So and this also, by the way, as a side note for my content, I'll see. I always play what I feel like. Bazaar's been a default for me because I can play Bazaar on autopilot, and it's entertaining, and it's sort of new and fresh. And so it's interesting to me. Maybe we'll go back to some Isaac runs now that I've got some more Isaac unlocks. Maybe some more Bazaar still in the cards. But suffice to say, this is a tumultuous period in the Bazaar's development sort of history. We're going to have to wait a couple of months to decide whether this is the direction that the game is going in, or whether there's some changes still to be made. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll subscribe if you think my opinions are worth considering. Sorry, after the pause in like 20 minutes or something into the video, it was like hours late. It's like hours later, and I'm also, I've inhaled the substance. Injected, not inhaled. I did not inhale any substances apart from oxygen and nitrogen and carbon dioxide, and probably trace amounts of argon and xenon. Is xenon a fucking chemical? I opened a new tab by instinct. You guys can see my Chrome. I have a Chrome extension that shows new randomly generated anime art. Xenon is real. Anyway, that's what I got for you boys. See ya. And girls. And they, them. So on and so forth. Bye.